Okay, so picture the morning grind for a second. You live in the suburbs, maybe, I don't know, 5 kilometers from a major train station.
And it's February.
It's February, it's freezing, and you need to get downtown. Your options right now are, well, they're pretty stark. You either trudge to a bus stop and kind of hope it shows up, or you take your own car.
Which means warming it up, fighting traffic just to get to the station,
Yeah.
and then the fun part, the parking lot.
Right. The endless hunt for a spot. You pay the daily fee, and you leave your, what, second largest asset just sitting in a concrete block for 9 hours?
It's a lot of friction before you've even had your coffee.
Exactly. But the analysis we're digging into today asked us to, flip that script entirely. Imagine you walk out your door. A vehicle is waiting. It's not your car, just a car. It costs you, say, $3. It drops you right at the station entrance, and then it just immediately vanishes to pick up the next person.
No parking, no insurance, no stopping for gas. It sounds like the usual futuristic pitch, right?
It does.
But the report we're unpacking argues this isn't some nice to have. They say it's actually an economic necessity if we want public transit to actually work.
So today, we are doing a deep dive into a really fascinating analysis from wikiresidence.ca and infodrone.ca. The title is The Future of Public Transit: Between Robotaxis, Chinese Manufacturers, and Public Transit.
Yeah.
And I want to set the stage here because this is not just a tech review. It's really a geopolitical and industrial strategy disguised as a transit plan.
That is the key. That's the whole thing. We tend to think of these things in silos. You've got your urban planners over here,
Right.
your transit authority over there, and then the auto industry is off in its own world. This report says Quebec is in this unique position to smash those silos together.
All to solve the last mile problem.
Exactly. And their mission, as they call it, is, it's bold. It's about combining our huge public transit investments with the strategy to invite Chinese automakers and autonomous tech right into our backyard.
Which is pretty provocative given the current trade climate.
It's very provocative.
It is. But before we get into the geopolitics, let's just look at the reality for people. The report points out this brutal statistic that I think everyone listening, you feel this in your bank account.
Oh, yeah.
Transportation is the second largest expense for Quebec households, right after housing.
It's eating up something like 15 to 20% of your net income. That's huge. You're basically working 1 day a week just to pay for your commute.
And the province is at this fork in the road. We're spending billions on heavy infrastructure, the REM, the Blue Line extension.
The tramway, all of it.
But at the same time, this individual car tech is having its own revolution. And the debate is always framed as, trains versus cars.
Yeah.
As if they're enemies.
Which the source says is just. It's a false dichotomy, a complete misunderstanding of how a city actually functions. And that's where they bring in this metaphor that I think really clarifies things. They talk about arteries and capillaries.
I love this comparison. It's so simple. It's like Biology 101 for city planning.
And it works perfectly. The RM, the metro, the exo trains, those are the arteries. Their whole purpose is to move huge volumes of people very fast over long distances. They're the backbone.
But arteries are useless if they can't get blood to the actual cells.
And the cells are our front doors, our offices, the grocery store. Exactly. If the blood just stays in the arteries, the tissue dies. You need capillaries to bridge that last little gap.
And right now, our system is clogged because we're using 2-ton private cars as capillaries.
It's just inefficient physics. You're using a machine with 200 horsepower that can go 150 kilometers an hour.
Just to drive 3 kilometers at 30 an hour and then park for the rest of the day.
It's like using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. And this is where the Robotaxi model comes in. But, and this is important, they distinguish it from just being Uber without a driver. It's about the integration.
The word they use is complementarity. The goal isn't to kill the train, it's to feed the train.
But for that to happen, the economics have to change. If I take an Uber to the station every single day, I'm going to go broke. Fast.
Of course, because you're paying for the driver's time, their salary, their car.
Right. But if the vehicle is autonomous, the cost of that trip just plummets, and suddenly a $3 feeder ride is totally viable.
And this would completely change the business model for a company like Communauto. I use Communauto, but I think of it as, I need a car for the day to go to IKEA.
That's the current model, yeah, a day rental. But in this scenario, car-sharing fleets would integrate these little autonomous shuttles for what they call micro trips. You're not renting the car, you're just renting the connection.
You don't need ownership. You just need access.
Precisely.
Okay, so we have the concept, arteries fed by autonomous capillaries. But here's where the rubber meets the road. you need a massive fleet of these vehicles. And they had to be electric, cheap, and everywhere.
And this is where the report takes that hard turn into industrial policy. Why Quebec and, why Chinese manufacturers?
This is the really controversial part. Because we all know Western consumers are frustrated. Car prices have just gone through the roof. The affordable compact car is basically extinct because American and Japanese companies make so much more money selling giant SUVs.
They've completely abandoned that entry-level market.
Totally. Just try finding a new EV for under $30,000. Good luck. Meanwhile, you have companies like BYD, NIO, or XPeng in China who have mastered the affordable EV, but they are desperate for a way into North America.
Desperate. And Quebec offers them what the report calls plug-and-play assets.
Okay, let's unpack that term, plug and play. In the context of building a giant factory, what does that actually mean?
It really just means speed to market. Usually, if a global company wants to build a gigafactory, they're looking at a 3 to 5 year nightmare. Acquiring land, zoning changes, getting power lines run.
It's slow and it's expensive.
Very. But the report argues Quebec has already done the prep work. We have sites like that 170-hectare zone in Montérégie that was for Northvolt, or the battery hub in Bécancour that are essentially shovel-ready.
So the zoning's done, the rail links are there.
The highways are right there. For a manufacturer, that can shave years off their timeline.
And crucially, the power running to those sites is green.
This is a huge competitive advantage, a massive one. Quebec's grid is 99.8% hydro. If you build a battery in many parts of Asia, the factory is powered by coal. That embeds a huge carbon footprint in the car before it even rolls off the line.
So for a company like BYD, building here isn't just about logistics, it's a marketing tool. They get to put an eco label on the car for the Western market.
Exactly. It instantly greens their whole supply chain. But there's a more, shall we say, pragmatic reason to trade barriers.
The tariff wall. Yeah, we're seeing the U.S. and Canada hitting Chinese EVs with these 100% surtaxes to protect their own industries.
Right. But those tariffs apply to finished cars imported from China. The strategy here is basically the Toyota strategy from the 80s. If you build the factory on Canadian soil with Canadian workers, well,
those cars become North American in the eyes of the trade agreements. They bypass the surtaxes.
they get access to the whole market without the penalty.
Okay, so the manufacturer gets market access. But what does Quebec get besides, construction jobs?
The report says the deeper win is for the state as an energy seller. This is a really important point. When the government gives you a subsidy to buy a Tesla, money leaves the treasury. It's an expense.
Right.
But when Hydro-Quebec signs a contract with a gigafactory, that factory becomes a massive, steady customer, buying electricity 2047. It locks in recurring revenue for the state for decades.
It flips the dynamic from government spending to government earning.
That's it. You're turning the energy transition into a revenue stream, not just a cost.
That makes a lot of sense. So we have the mode of cheaper transit, we have the means, the industrial capacity. How do we get there? The report actually lays out a 15-year roadmap.
Yeah, it's a 3-phase evolution. And I like that they're realistic. They don't just say Robotaxis tomorrow.
Phase 1 is the affordable offer, roughly 2026 to 2030.
And this phase is just about manufacturing. Simple. The factory's job is to build a car that normal people can actually afford. The target is that $25,000 to $35,000 range.
Filling that void we talked about, getting the hardware into people's driveways.
Exactly. You can't start a revolution if no one can afford the tools. So once that industrial base is solid, you move to phase 2, around 2030 to 2033. They call it the service fleet.
This is interesting. Shifting from cars designed for ownership to cars for usership. What's the actual difference in the vehicle?
Well, think about your personal car versus a subway car. Your car has heated leather seats, mood lighting, all that stuff. It's an emotional purchase. A fleet vehicle needs to be tough, easy to clean, and utilitarian. It's a tool.
So in phase 2, the factory starts making specific models for fleets, like Caminado or Taxi.
Exactly. By making them locally and simplifying them, you lower the cost for the operators. If Caminado pays less for the car, they can charge you less for the ride. It gets people used to the idea of shared mobility.
And that all sets the stage for the final leap. Phase 3, the Robotaxi, 2034 and beyond.
This is the convergence. You take the vehicle you've perfected, and you layer on the eponymous tech. And the report notes, Quebec is an AI powerhouse. We have Mila, Ivado,
So the brains of the car could be developed right down the street from the body.
And in this stage, the vehicle isn't even sold to people anymore.
No.
It's pure infrastructure. These are the red blood cells. They just circulate 24/7, feeding the AM and the metro. They never park. They just serve.
Let's talk about the impact of that. Because if this actually works, if I can rely on a cheap robotaxi to get me to the train, the financial change for a normal family is,
Yeah.
it's wild.
Oh, yeah.
The report quotes CAA Quebec. The cost of owning a car is around $11,000 a year.
And remember, that's after tax money. You have to earn, what, $15,000 or $16,000 gross just to keep that thing on the road? It's a silent mortgage.
So if a family that had 2 cars can get rid of one because of this RM plus robotaxi mix,
You're basically giving yourself a $15,000 raise. The report suggests a 50 to 60% drop in transport bills for households that adopt this. That's money that gets spent in the local economy.
but the ripple effect that really got me was housing. We can't talk about affordability without talking about rent, and the source draws a direct line between your car and your rent.
The end of parking. This is huge. We talk about TOD, transit-oriented development, but even when developers build right next to a train station, they still build these massive underground parking garages.
If the bank makes them. The thinking is, well, people still need a car for groceries.
Exactly. But do you know how much one of those underground spots costs to build?
I've heard some numbers, but break it down.
The report says between $40,000 and $60,000 per spot
60,000.
for concrete, steel, and excavation. And that cost isn't magic. It gets baked directly into your rent or the condo price. A huge chunk of your monthly payment is literally for the square footage where your car sleeps.
That's staggering. You're renting a bedroom for your Honda.
Pretty much, yeah. So if this robotaxi system is reliable enough that developers can slash parking ratios from, say, 1.5 spots per unit down to 0.2, you immediately lower the construction cost.
You can build more homes on the same land, too.
It's one of the few real levers we have to lower the structural cost of building housing.
There's also a social equity piece here that often gets lost in the tech talk. I mean, not everyone can drive.
This is so important. We have an aging population. My grandmother, for instance, had to give up her license. In the suburbs, that's basically a total loss of independence.
You're stuck. You're reading for family to drive you places. Or you're using paratransit, which is not spontaneous at all.
Right. It's isolating. An autonomous shuttle doesn't care if you have a license. It doesn't care about your eyesight or reaction time. It gives autonomy back to seniors and people with reduced mobility. It reconnects them.
So when we zoom out, it's not death to the car. It's more like death to the car as we know it.
It's the industrialization of mobility. We stopped weaving our own clothes. We started buying them from factories. We might be at the point where we stop driving our own cars and just subscribe to mobility.
And all the ingredients are just sitting there.
Yeah.
Quebec has the land, thanks to projects like Northvolt. We have the green energy. We have the AI talent. And we definitely have the consumer need for cheaper options.
The report's conclusion is that the only missing piece is the political handshake. It requires the Minister of Economy and the Minister of Transport to be working from the same playbook.
To see industrial policy and urban planning as one single file.
Yeah. They have to agree that this convergence is the goal.
It's a lot to take in, but it paints a future that feels surprisingly practical. It's less Blade Runner and more just really efficient logistics.
Which is the best kind of futurism, right? Solving a boring problem like how do I get to the train with really exciting tech.
Before we wrap, I want to leave everyone with one last statistic from the report that I can't stop thinking about it. Private vehicles sit motionless 95% of the time.
It's absurd. It's the most expensive thing you own besides your house, and you use it 5% of the time. The rest of the time, it's just taking up space.
So imagine your street. Look out your window right now. All those cars parked along the curb, just sitting there depreciating. If we switch to these red blood cell vehicles that are always moving, all that space opens up.
It completely changes the geometry of the street.
What do we do with it? Do we widen the sidewalks, plant trees, put in bike lanes, outdoor seating? It's this massive reclamation of public space that we currently just use for storing empty metal boxes.
It's a blank canvas for a whole new kind of city. And a much nicer view from your window.
Something to think about next time you're circling the block looking for a parking spot.
Or paying that daily fee.
Exactly. That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.